Buen dia. Good morning. It's Lisa, and it's Friday. Yes, it's Let's Talk Friday. And you know what? You remember in the beginning, I told you that one day you're going to wake up going, it's Friday. I wonder what Lisa's talking about. It happened. I had my first person to say, because I was a little bit late putting it out last week, and I had one person say or notice that it was late and that it was wondering what happened. Yes, I was like, it's coming, it's coming. You shall have what you say. That is true. A couple of things that I often think about and I have lived by, and that Craig and I live by, is where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. You often hear this in church, surrounded about giving and offerings and that kind of thing. And that's true. That's a valid point. So keep that in mind. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And then I want to also go ahead and throw out, I don't know if you guys remember the scriptures about Lot and his wife, L-O-T, and Gomorrah, and when the angels were rescuing Lot out of the city that was about to be destroyed. Lot's wife looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. The tragedy of looking back. Okay, so those are 2 points, okay? The first one is where your treasure is, your heart will be also. And the second one is like the tragedy of looking back, right? Instead of keeping your eye on the prize and moving forward, right? So let's talk about that. So I guess just the other day, I got to meet another subscriber, and they were in town on a scouting trip, which is so cool, right? And so, yeah, also, this is weird, but the first person to ask me for an autograph, I don't think they meant it genuinely, but hey, it was still, he still put it out there, right? So they were saying that their next step is to go back home and purge their house and get ready for the next stage of life, which is possibly moving to Panama. Woo! So that's what I want to talk about, because when she said that, I knew it was going to be really, really hard. She also had lived in her house for 20 years, and we were in our house for 17 years. And then I know many of you have a similar story, that these are the homes that you've raised your children in. These are the homes where all the memories are. So let's talk about that process of going to the next stage. And oftentimes it's not as hard, because people will just move, instead of really purging and going through everything, they will just pack everything up, and whatever they're not taking, they will put in storage. So have you heard, in the United States, it's coming to the point that the average family has not 1 storage unit, but 2 storage units. Yes, of stuff. So, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So how do you start this process of purging? So the act of purging is a physical act, right? You're actually going through stuff, you're looking at stuff, you're saying no, yes, no, yes. You're deciding if you should donate, if you should give it away, or, you're trying to decide yard sales, that kind of thing. But before you even get to that stage, I think first you have to have this spiritual check, this mental check of turning the page, that where your treasure is, where there your heart will be also. So it's part of that American dream as well, that we think that, oh, you know, getting this house and, you know, having a place for our kids to be raised and all this is our treasure. And oftentimes people tell me, and when I was going through the process myself, people were saying, but you worked so hard for this, how can you just give it away? And you feel the same way, like I've worked so hard for this, so it's difficult for me to walk away from it. Okay, we're about to get serious now, because that whole ideology is a fallacy. It's not real. It was never yours in the first place. So the idea that you worked so hard for this, now even if you are you've told me, some people have told me, well, you know, I'm not religious, Lisa, I'm not religious, so, you know, not really following, you know, a lot of what you say because I'm not religious. Even if you're not spiritual or religious or whatever, it's not real that you are working, that this is yours. This is all, it's temporary. It's temporary. So the stuff that, when somebody said, how can you just give it away? It's never mine. It was never mine. So it was something that I was able to be a steward over for a temporary time. Okay? And so when that time is over, then it's time to do the next thing. And then part of that process is trusting that your needs will be met at the level that you're used to them being met at as well in that next stage. Okay? So that, what we go back to, we always are talking about faith. So you have to have the faith to believe that whatever you feel like you're giving up, that God is going to restore to you in the level that you are accustomed to, and at the size that you need for that period. Okay, so that's a big part of that shift that is needed, that mental shift. And then when it happens, so now the next part of the next scripture about looking back, you've got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. So you can't look back, oh, but this is what I had, but this is what I had. Even if you stay there, it's still gonna at some point be something that you had. Okay? So, you know, again, I always talk about now. Now faith is the substance. Now. All right. Until next time. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your support for our channel. Yes. And you know what to do. Be blessed. Have a good weekend.